Catus, Maximus here. This is just a quick little comparison of the 2011 versus the 2019 Performance Tool extended offset oxygen sensor socket. Although they do call it a wrench, I guess it's kind of both, but it's really a socket because you can't really use these by your hand. Although you could use these as a slugging wrench. Put it on there and then actually just hit the side of it. And that's actually one of the reasons I have two of them, is specifically for that reason. There are many situations where I can get the socket on but just can't get a good angle. But you can use a hammer or a punch and just hit it to get the oxygen sensor out. And sometimes they're pretty stuck. What was a little disappointing is both of these are made in Taiwan, but it's actually an example of, I would say, a little bit declining quality of performance tool. We can see that the older one was chrome plated, the new one is not. It's a carbon finish, which actually I don't mind, but there's a couple little details like they chamfered the old one. The new one does not have a chamfer. The old one, they did put fluting in the drive end. They stopped doing that on the new one, surprisingly enough, and neither one of these is fluted on the actual sensor side, which is also a little bit disappointing. It is pretty tall. Part of the reason for the height is not just to be able to reach down into a recess, but it just gives it a lot of extra material to try to prevent these from spreading apart, which is of course the biggest issue when you have a jam sensor. As far as being the extended offset, that is handy by itself just because it gives you a bit more leverage. You do have some more leverage with this being offset. Now, I did want to mention there's not even any like little divots or holes to help retain these onto an extension or a wrench, which is also disappointing. So they do kind of want to fall off pretty easily. So these are generally ones I wouldn't totally recommend. But I do recommend long offset versions. It's not performance tool. The long offset, that little bit of extra lever offset is about the leverage too. It isn't just about getting some additional clearance, which is helpful, but the fact that if you're using extension and it's really close, then you do have a less leverage ratio. You're really twisting it up, especially considering these are 3/8 drives. So when you have it offset a little bit further out, of course you're going to have a little bit more of an issue. If I can get this in here, when you're turning the wrench, just because the whole extension itself is also swinging around, but it does give you quite a bit of extra leverage, which means that you're going to have less twist on your extension. So that's really the deal with these sockets. They're pretty common in a lot of smaller auto parts stores, even larger auto parts stores. And just wanted to say that generally speaking, they seem to be okay, but they're definitely better ones. I'd probably recommend the Napa deep offset. The other thing that further is a disappointment is they only have a hex on one side. You would think they'd have a hex on both sides just for the few situations where you may need it just to be flush and this offset may be too much. They didn't do that, so these are pretty cheap. Yeah, I did get these on sale for like, I think it was like 10 bucks a piece. I know the new one was 10 bucks. This one I've had for a long time and just had always kept it in the packaging. And I saw they come out with a new one, so figured I'd pick it up. Definitely is different castings. It isn't just the same casting or forged. I don't even know if these really are forged. This one does have some sanding indicating maybe it was forged. They did at least laser etch performance tool on this one. This one doesn't have any labeling. But you can see here with the text, this side part is definitely different between these two. So they're not like the same tool, just with a different finish. Definitely a different vendor. Anyway, that was my quick little review of both the old and new Performance Tool oxygen sensors extended offset sockets. They're cheap. They generally seem like they'd work, but I would look for something better. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing and commenting. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.